I need to learn to be okay with the possibility of bad things happening. That I feel like I'm infringing upon their close-knit communities by enforcing my friendship and my company upon them. Sometimes I can be really kind, but I can be really harsh and brutal. People with trauma have like a broken map of the world. Like they always kind of use this phrase. I try to think with this and not with this, literally. Now that I'm opening myself up and I'm allowing myself to feel these things, like it's not right. When before, like I would have been like, oh, it's all right, and I would have made excuses, and now I'm kind of like just reliving everything and saying like this wasn't all right, that wasn't all right. When it just started journaling, I got a lot on my mind. Of it there was just me having to kind of like write about the day and like some of the things I was annoyed about, and some of it was some just like background stuff, that watching myself as if I'm someone who I don't know anything about. Whenever I do that, I feel a bit narcissistic. I feel like I'm just taking away the attention from anyone else. I also feel that like, why can't you just be normal? Like, why I'll be like really friendly with my friends so that other people will feel drawn and invited to the conversation, and then perhaps there's a chance they'll join in. And then like when I zone out, I think you want to speak to people, but because you're too shy, you kind of go in defensive mode. Moderate, because I'm not able to go for that moderate thing, I go for the two extreme. You know, I'm a good person, but I don't feel like it. I'm a kind person, but I don't feel like it. I'm a friendly person, but I feel like whenever I'm around people, sometimes like I'm forcing myself to. I'm a very mature person. I take on a lot of responsibility, but whenever I'm around people, I always feel like I'm their younger brother. I know things, but I don't feel them and I don't believe them. The way he was talking to me, it was as if he had exclusive rights to me. He knew me so well, and and it just frustrated me so much and much. And there's been other characters like that, and I never kind of understood, why do I suddenly get so angry and aggressive around like those type of people? When does he feel entitled to love that he hasn't earned, whilst I had to kind of work for the love I kind of have? If I had to work for friendship, I had to work for all these things, and now he gets a free pass. That's why I think when people get clingy, when people like that guy come to me and people get clingy to you, you're being harsh to them, you're treating yourself like that. That's when I'm in this frame of mind. I will read into myself the worst possible insecurity. But the reason why it does that is because in an attempt to preempt that psychopath, your partially psychopathic mind will kind of like think of the thing the psychopath will say, and it will say it to you so that you can protect yourself against the psychopath. Because I understand that, because I understand that people do have the capacity to be like that. In everything that I do, my mind will read in something bad to it. The reason why it will do that is to protect me. I can use that slightly psychopathic part of me to kind of like identify the psychopathic natures of other people, and I can use it to say no and use it to kind of like fight against it. So I kind of consciously understood that things like that is a trigger. You know, it's just a trigger, and sometimes your mind is so powerful. It associates things with everything and it becomes predictable and it wants to protect you. So when my mind saw her smiling like that, it immediately associated that smile with like a bad situation. I feel that like in a conversation, like I have to be in control. And the reason why I think like that is because I want it to go a certain way, even if it means that like it's scripted. Like you've done everything you needed to do in the day and you haven't even had a bad interaction with anybody. Like nothing's bad about today. Nothing's objectively bad. You just kind of like feel the way you feel. So I was like, because the bad thoughts before wasn't really bad thoughts per se. They were more like an alarm system, and you can't really shut down an alarm system. An alarm system's there to protect you. The reason why I'm thinking so much now is because it's kind of like another coping mechanism. For instance, I'll give you an example of this water, right? So like if there was something in this water which you didn't want to see, you'd shake the water and you'd make it so that there's a lot of waves in it, and you'd make it so that it's not clear and it's not transparent. I think a lot of the times what I'm doing is that I'm looking for things but I can never find them. I'm always looking for validation. I'm always looking for security. I'm always looking for reliability. I'm always looking for certain things that I can't find, and I'm looking for them in every interaction that I have, in every person that I see. And it's an indicator of my self-worth. I feel like if it doesn't go perfectly, and even if it does go perfectly, I just think of something else, I'll feel like that's indicating my self-worth, and in a sense I'll feel like I'm failing. I didn't have a relationship whereby it was always dependent on something, right? maybe feel that I would have to be either like so charismatic or so like fun to talk to, or I would be nobody, because I felt like if I couldn't do one, I would have to do the other. Like I couldn't just go and just be myself and just be normal and just like sell myself on myself, if that makes sense. I kind of had to bring this like super duper version of me. I think that the reason why I'll get like that sometimes is because I felt that simple gesture was not for free. Like I feel like there's a tax on me now. I feel like there's a debt on me now. And I feel like I have to repay that debt. And I feel like I'm supposed to do, but the fact that I couldn't give her something, I feel that that is an indication of my self-worth. I feel like that's an indication of me failing on my part. I feel like it's my responsibility to kind of like save her now. I'm not responsible for how things go. I'm not responsible for if we have a good time or if we have a bad time. I'm not responsible for these things. I think the reason why it bothers me is because if I fail to bring to the table certain things, I feel like my mum, or she won't want to love me anymore. She won't want to be my mum anymore. Like, it just goes back to this idea of kind of like trusting the self, like who you really are, to be able to deal with and cope with all these things that the other less authentic and less truer versions of you diligently plan for and diligently anticipate that self is going to be able to handle all those awkward, embarrassing and aggressive conversations, and it's going to be able to, you know, when the time arises, you know, make friends as well. So in the morning I was speaking to someone, but when I was speaking to this person, I got triggered, so that trauma center bit in my mind kind of like lighted up, and when that happens I kind of like close myself up to kind of like protect myself. But then the thing is, it meant that I was emotionally unavailable when I spoke to this person. And then when I done that, I felt like I was responsible for the mood and the impression that I left them with. But then that makes me feel like a crappy person. And then when I feel like a crappy person, this other part of my mind to kind of like bring it back to equilibrium kind of takes over. And that's the part of the mind that kind of like has these kind of its own separate desires, wants and motivations, and kind of fills you up with this kind of like sense of like, I wish I could have been better. I wish I could have been more, like I wish I could have been more social. I wish I could have said something. And it comes in to help because you feel like a bad person. So to compensate for you feeling like a bad person, it punishes you by having self-deprecating thoughts. I find myself falling into that trail of thinking. I remind myself, no, I'm having that thinking because this version of me is overtaken, but I'm not this person anymore. And I wanted to do it, but the part of me that wanted to do it wasn't the part of me who I am at my core. It was the part of me that feels responsible for the mood in the room. What if you're not obsessing over that person, but you're obsessing over the type of person you could be if you were with that person? Who you get to become, who you get to play out. And the thing that I kind of like wish I could be, I wish I could be a kinder person, a more friendly person. And what if you're already that person? What if you've always already been that person? And when you start setting boundaries with people, it's the people who always took advantage of your lack of boundaries that punish you for putting up boundaries. I feel like I'm the ideals that I want to embody. You know, like they bring out the best in you and you always come away feeling like good about it. You always come away feeling seen, and you always, sometimes when you're around other type of people, you always feel that like you're not seen, or you have to try hard, or you're being too much, or no, this is a better way to put it. You always feel that like you are the insecurities that you're trying to fight yourself against. Overthinking comes from a lack of self-trust. I've come to learn that want to be more social was merely me trying to prove to myself that there wasn't anything wrong with me, that I was capable of getting along with people, that I wasn't like unlovable, or because I've outgrown that need. It also comes with this idea that like the incentive to accept love and to accept friendships from people who kind of give you those friendships, but they're kind of like half-hearted friendships. That incentive, that kind of like pales now. That incentive to kind of like be social with everyone, to get along with everyone, just to prove it to myself that I could, that there's no longer that incentive anymore. So I am a bit of a people pleaser. I unhealthily put someone else's needs so high above my own, and a lot of these things, they invite people to disrespect me a little bit, take a little bit of advantage of me. I need to trust my gut. I need to trust what my gut tells me and not what my head tells me. I need to trust people's behaviors and people's patterns as opposed to what they say and do. But the thing is, that comes at a cost, because if I do listen to that gut feeling, if it means that I have to pull back a little, it means that I have to be a little bit more reserved. I need to reciprocate energy, and sometimes it's a matter of, if I don't text first, are we going to talk at all? And it's like, maybe not, which is fine, but then, like, you know, maybe that's all you have, and it feels like I'm losing people, and it feels like suddenly when I pull back, there's nothing there, and I feel that I'm isolating myself. I'm isolating myself, and it's hard because it's like you're losing people left, right, and center. Maybe you don't need more time to heal. Maybe you just need different experiences that show your nervous system a different reality. I've seen scenarios where I don't have to go to extraordinary lengths to be seen or heard or appreciated. A person is loved because they are loved. It needs no reason. This time I'm alone, but I understand that I'm not alone because there's anything wrong with me. I'm not alone because something I done and it made people want to disperse from me. I'm alone, it's just this short period of time, and I understand that there's nothing wrong with me, and what I'm asking for isn't much. When we remove what isn't meant for us, then we make space for what is meant for us. And I do think that the people I'm looking for is on the other side of people pleasing, and the familiar bad is better or more comfortable than the unfamiliar good. I haven't actually been okay with being alone. What I've done is I've been okay with being hyper independent, hyper reliable. I can only rely on myself and not rely on other people. And that isn't actually the same as learning to be alone and okay with yourself. It's shame, and I'm just carrying it around with me all the time. And it makes sense because, you know, it makes sense why I meet people, why I'm scared, I'm gonna lose them. Because if something good happens, if I meet someone new and interesting, it's like, it's just a fluke. And once they find out who I really am, like, they're gonna leave. And if it's just about feeling the shame, it's feeling this emotion, feeling this thing that your body has deemed such a reprehensible emotion, such a dangerous emotion, something so hard to feel, something that it deemed you to be so vulnerable to feel that it closed itself off from. What if it's just about feeling it? What if it's just about finally feeling it? It goes back to this idea of like being addicted to chaos, and when you finally receive peace, you're self-sabotaging it. You're looking for reasons to kind of like escape that peace because it's so unfamiliar. And partially that's because that peace is just such an unfamiliar thing that it almost feels dangerous. And a dimensionality to why I was awkward around people was that I couldn't sit with that stillness. I couldn't sit with that peace. And if I was with someone, I would always have to say something, even if it meant saying something that I didn't actually want to say. I would just say it just for the mere sake of saying it. Just, you know, being addicted to chaos and you're not okay with calm. It's just the bare minimum. That's just basic manners. And just because someone affords you those basic manners, they don't deserve the title of friend from you. You're seen. Maybe the reason why you feel lonely is because when love is shown to you, it's not shown to your authentic self. If to be seen is to be loved, then we have to deal with the prospect of being known, and we have to make ourselves known, and we can't do that naively. We have to do that with boundaries, and we have to be selective about who gets that version of us. We have to be calculated. We have to do it in such a way that isn't naive and isn't going to get us hurt, but we have to do it. It's up to us. It's up to us to communicate that. And when love does return, let's hope we can seek it out as something that is silent and gentle, and something that fills the silence, and something we know is constantly there, something that doesn't give us butterflies but gives us peace. And that authenticity facilitates the way for us to be rejected to our core, but also to be loved in such a deep way. Because to be loved is to be seen, and to be completely seen and loved anyhow, that's something worth fighting for.